All right, Gary Moran, Fantasy Farms. Here we go again. We are not going to have PD's Country Christmas. What is the status now of Fantasy Farms as of November the 1st? All the ag tourism is done, or what's the situation now?
Yeah, it's done until hopefully we put a reconsideration in and we can get some movement from the ALC, and then from the ALC would go back to the city. And we already know from the city's perspective, we would have to get a TUP, I believe, temporary use permit, to carry on into the future. The greenhouses are 2006, and some of the buildings were built in the 60s. Super solid steel buildings, but nonetheless, they were built in that year. All in compliance when they were built, by the way.
I'm a little confused, and this is where I need some direction on this. In 2016, it seemed that the ALR rules were updated. You were allowed 10 events. Is that still in play, or where does this stoppage happen? Is this from the ALC, or is this from the city, or both?
It's from both, and what the problem was in 2016, they basically took away agriculture tourism component of the ALC and completely transformed it. Back when we started in 1992, the rules were completely different. The city, the province, the federal government all embraced agritourism and what it can do for young farms, small farms, and as a way of creating awareness, if you will, by BC to the public. In 2016, the Liberal government and the cities were trying to address people that had agriculture land that were doing things on their agriculture land that they shouldn't have been, like hosting commercial weddings when they weren't even farmers, doing activities like festivals when they weren't even farming their farm. And that wasn't the purpose of agriculture tourism. So we got caught in a trap. We were doing it, as a matter of fact, I think at least 7 or 8 years ago, we were told by the city that we were the people to watch because we were doing it right. Now all of a sudden we're doing it wrong.
And let's clarify that Fantasy Farms is a working farm.
Oh, absolutely. We've been farming this farm since 1992. We have been through multiple different situations of growing. We started growing bedding plants. We've went through a whole gamut of products, trying to find that magical product that's going to make you enough money to sustain your farm. And unless you're now willing to be supersized, there's just no way. You can make a modest living farming, but that's all you can do. You need to have a reason for people to come to the farm, and that's kind of what agritourism was all about. We get more people coming to the farm because we entertain them while they're here, but while they're here, they're learning, especially with everybody, but passive learning is one of the best kinds of learning because they see you working hands-on. We take them to the fields like pumpkin patch, for example. Christmas, we used to grow poinsettias. We don't grow poinsettias anymore, but we sell our winter squash in the wintertime. We bring people for that. And guess what? The kids get to learn from Santa Claus about what happens to the plants in the wintertime, where they're going to hibernate, etc., and seeding and all of that kind of stuff. Again, that's passive learning. You're planting seeds in young minds as far as we're concerned.
There seems to be, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, 2 sets of rules, one for the farms and then one for vineyards and hops. Is it because of tax money where the liquor taxes can bring in money but you can't tax vegetables?
Yeah, that's a complete double standard. Like it's so frustrating for farms and farmers. And there has been recently in the media of the Rusty Rake on the Nanaimo who were informed that they had to stop their bistro on the farm unless they started growing or producing alcohol. They went ahead and spent a large amount of money to do that, and then found out afterwards that when they reapplied that no, they still weren't complying with that. And to force people to grow pot or to grow grapes or turn into like a liquor outlet, if you will, because of a few tax dollars, it's ridiculous. I mean, if you look to our neighbors to the south, you look at how large agritourism is there. It's so big, it rivals all of the big amusement parks. So you can't say there's no tax dollars coming out of there. We farmed for, like I said, since 1992. we pay our taxes, we pay our taxes on our property, we pay our taxes on our product, we pay wages, we pay taxes on our wages. So yeah, we're contributing a lot of tax dollars, but yeah, probably not as much as alcohol.
And you're mentioning down south, back in 2016, Vancouver, Abbotsford, Chilliwack hosted NAFTA, North America Farmers Direct Marketing. As I understood, that was the first and only, or one of the rare times they actually came to Canada. And I recall covering that a number of American farmers were shocked by the controversy you were involved in. Are you still in touch with NAFTA in the States and just trying to keep them up to date on what's happening?
Yeah, we're actually members of NAFTA, and yeah, definitely we go back and forth and we talk about stuff. I watched closely a lot of farms there that have developed, and I'd like to not mirror our farm by that, but it certainly gives us lots of inspiration. We also belong to Maize Play, which is our corn maize, and that's an association out of the U.S. as well. And so we contact with other fellow Maize Play people, and they shake their head at the province of British Columbia. And you know what? It's just the province of British Columbia. It's nowhere else. Across Canada, I think every other province embraces agritourism. The government should be funding us because we're the Buy BC people. We're the people that are going to bring people to the stores.
And a lot of kids, excuse me, coming here for the first time had never seen a farm before, I would think. It's, it's not, your food does not come from Save On or Safeway.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is in 1992 when we started, we had our garden centers. We were young horticulturists ourselves back then, and I was overwhelmed and surprised by how many people were coming in to the garden center or to our greenhouse, that not just little children, but people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s asking for advice because they had never planted anything in their entire lives. And I was going, oh, wait a minute here. Like back then I was, in my late 30s, and I'm going, well, you should be telling me. That's what I thought. But no, they were brand new. So we get from the littlest little here to the biggest that have never set foot on a farm. And we even had a teacher that thought one of our goats was a cow.
With waiting until whatever happens to bring Fantasy Farms back online, if you will, if you want to use that terminology, PD's Country Christmas goes to Chilliwack Mall. I assume somebody got a hold of somebody to make this happen and keep it going. Will it kind of be the same, or what will be different from past years?
Well, to answer your question, how it happened, when we knew that it was the fait accompli, the city had given us their, not ultimatum, if you will, but they'd given us their ruling that starting November 1st, if we do any activities on our farm, which we can go back to that 10 event thing, which I never covered that, which again is ridiculous because that's supposed to be non-farm events, not farm events. So that's got misconstrued. That when we put our first non-farm application into the ALC, they came back and they said we're doing 68 events. So they're considering Pumpkin Patch from October 1st to 31st. Each and every day is a single event. Well, it's not a single event. It's a farm event where we sell our pumpkins and our fall product.
Over a matter of time,
Over a matter of 30 days, but we actually sell it from now, or pardon me, from the 1st all the way through till it's gone, which could be into January. So it's not a separate event. It's one big, huge, long, and I just hate that calling it an event because it's not. It's just part of our day-to-day farming business. So back to the mall. When we knew that was the case, it's still, we have to live. We need to put food on the table. We need to do something in the fall, or pardon me, at Christmas time. And I didn't grow this big beard for nothing. So I contacted the mall, and they were ecstatic to have us. They opened their arms to us. They, since the mall is coming down this year, or pardon me, in 2020, this will be the last year that they can even host an event like this. They were excited to have PD's Country Christmas because they know of us and the quality that we can produce. So that's why we're going to the mall. And it's both happy, sad for me in a sense because I love to new things. I get excited about new things. So having the opportunity to go there and bring the magic to the downtown core is great. But we've done that before with actually Reapers a long time ago. We did that in the Chilliwack Mall, the Cottonwood Mall. and people love our farm. And you just can't duplicate the magic of coming out to the country farm, and we can of course do so much more here, but we guarantee that you'll have such a good time at the Chilliwack Mall. All the activities will be there, and of course visits with St. Nick.
Okay, and now bringing us up to right now with paperwork, I guess, trying to make this application or just a plea to reopen. What's the process now?
Well, that's probably my weakest ability, I guess, would be writing and office. I mean, I'm good at Excel. I can do all kinds of stuff, but it's not my forte to do that. And I am looking for somebody that can help me write. And I'm reaching out to, and I think I might be getting a little bit of help from some people that speak the language of the ALC. So that's going to be the first thing. What do they need to hear from me? Like what am I to say about what we do? And that will be the biggest thing. So first we got to go through a letter asking and giving a reason why we want reconsideration, and then it'll go to this. I think it's the South panel that made the deliberation the first time. It goes back to them, and hopefully they see it differently this time. And then from there it'll go back to the city of Chilliwack, and there we go through whatever regulatory things that they need. And again, unless once we get that far with it, the city has to come to, not necessarily to our aid, but they have to have the will to make it happen. And if they do, it will happen.
And if anybody wants to help you guys out, fantasyfarm.ca or .com?
.ca.
.ca.
We're Canadian, eh?
Yeah. Gary Moran, Fantasy Farms, thank you.
Very well.